All right. Let's get into this beauty. Here we are. Crypto cycles evolved. 5-year shift in MANYU's moonshot. Um, don't want to take up the regular, beautiful MANYU spaces, but did want to discuss something. Now, this is going to be for holders only. If you a Jeet, you ain't going to like this. There is nothing for you to eat. But for the holders, you're going to like this. I've just been running some math. For those of you who don't know, I build engines just, for remote places, originally working in the Arctic. That's how we got started building remote generators up there to replace solar. And since then, we've been all over. But that's what we do in our day job. But in our nighttime job, in our degen hours, we push and MANYU because I support DeFi as much as I can. So let's get into it. I want to talk about maybe why we're not seeing the usual 4 year cycle. And I'm not even going to say why. I'm going to actually tell you exactly why we're not seeing a 4 year cycle. There's been a big change that happened in 2021, obviously the last bull cycle. And for those of us in MANYU, Shiba Inu was right there. So we'll talk about that as well. But something happened back in 2021 that really pushed back the bull cycle, which we're going to look at. And again, I'm going to give you all the facts and data. And I'm going to show you guys actually how to check these things. You can see it yourselves and run your own beautiful sine waves and get your own predictions. But I developed 7 different stats that correlate. We use M2 money growth, ETF inflows, ISM, which is for factory activity. Again, we'll get into all this, wallet activity, Google searches, debt maturity, and then a 5 year cycle sine wave. And I'm going to explain it so that the uh, MANYU crew is the most informed gang in the crypto world, because that's what we want. We want people to be informed. We don't want people to be ignorant. Ghouls take advantage of the ignorant, and we want the MANYU team and the fam, the army, to be hip to what's going on. So let's just talk real quick about what happened in 2021. So now, traditionally, we talk about a 4 year bull cycle, and it's basically been based on Bitcoin halving, right? So the 4 year cycle is just tied to halving. So every 4 years, for those that don't know, right, the new Bitcoin supply is cut in half. And so usually what happens, like for example, let me just run some stats here. So in 2012, right, it halved in November. And so then it peaked at about 1150 in December 2013, right? 13 months later, the halving. And 2016, right, in July, we hit 19,800 in December of 2017, right? So that was 17 months post halving. So we're seeing that, right? 16 months, 17 months. The last one was 18 months, right? We in 2020 topped out at 69,000 in November of 2021, 18 months after the halving. So the cycles were running 4 years basically up to 2021. But then something happened. If those of you who are on planet Earth remember, the whole COVID nonsense hit. And now, as exciting as that was and lame, what that did to the financial situation was completely mess it up. So what happened there is all this stimulus money from the governments was being pushed in, right? So what happened is companies stretched out average debt maturity. So it used to be around 5.5 years or 5.2 years. And so then it's got stretched out by where we are, mid 2025, to about 6 years. So that means and see, it didn't matter back in like 2017, 2021. uh, Debt maturities didn't matter because institutional money wasn't very interested in what's going on here in DeFi. But that completely changed since 2021. So we have massive institutional funds coming in. For example, I think on the 21st, October 21st, I just checked, we had 477 million bucks flow in through ETFs. That's major money. That's not something we saw in 2017. We didn't see BlackRock, you know, setting up spot ETFs for Bitcoin. No, we didn't see that at all. And so the whole landscape, the financial landscape, has actually changed since 2021. So now, we love ride and hype, but the issue is you can't just ride on hype anymore. And again, this is why I'm so bullish on MANYU, because with the institutional money coming in, we're going to see how this locks to BTC and ETH flows. What it does, though, is actually affects the correlation between all the other seasons, right? BTC, ETH, altcoins, right? Memes, they're all attached. And so when we have this massive financial, hedge funds bringing in money that's just sitting around, especially as the debt's been maturing, so they got more time to play with money before they're refinancing, then you're running into these situations where what used to be just a regular bull cycle based on the halving of Bitcoin has now extended, or rather been influenced by institutional money. And that's something we have to respect. You just have to recognize that. And again, that's why I'm so bullish on MANYU, because MANYU is setting itself up to be acceptable for big money, right? They're doing the copyright, they're doing the IP. Those are the things that big money investors want to see. They want to see legitimacy. And for me, I'm like, that's great. You throw 500 million into MANYU, let's do it, because they're looking for real companies to invest in. And that's why you see the team. Obviously, we'll look at some of the things they did with SHIB, some of the changes there. I think they definitely learned, right? You learn when you go down 80% and you don't have utilities launched yet, right? There's things you learn to do first. So let's just jump on. I'm just riffing a little here. So we see, though, the Bitcoin bull run is now stretched out because the government's threw in all the stimulus money. The debt maturities got stretched out from 5.2 to around 6 years. So what happens then is this affects how Bitcoin's now tied to big money. Okay, that's just a fact. I wish we could. It is decentralized, but centralized money is buying it. Okay, so now it has like a centralized overlay, and that's, TradFi has gotten involved in DeFi, and that's just something we just have to live with. It's the landscape of today, but hallelujah, MANYU's here. So what we are seeing now, like with M2 money supply, if you don't know, M2 is like a second tier money, so it's like physical money, right? Stuff you can move, easy liquidity, savings, quick spend stuff, right? That kind of thing. So we're seeing the M2 money supply really move like crazy with the Bitcoin. Now let's make a quick comment on this. In 2017, for like our liquidity, our cash, the stuff we can just move and throw into BTC or ETH or whatever, Pepe. We had 13.8 trillion. That's what we were sitting at, right? 13.8 trillion in M2. Now in 2021, that was up to 21 trillion. That's a pretty tasty jump there, right? 13.8 trillion to 21 trillion up to 2021. That was the difference between those two bull runs. But now what are we hovering at? In 2025, we're only up 22.2 trillion from 2021. We're only up 1.2 trillion. That's it. It was basically like 8 trillion from 2017 to 2021, but now we're only up, just over a trillion from 2021 to 2025. Why? Because everyone got hit really hard with all that nonsense, right? The last, 4 years from 2020 to 2024, job loss and just general insanity. And just really now, the last year, everything started to rally. Like, even I think we're up, 0.36% from the last month. So that's good. That means there's the free money starting to flow. People are starting to spend, and obviously as we get closer to Christmas, there's always the Bitcoin Christmas rally, 60% of the time. So we can expect that. But what we're seeing here, Post 2021, right, is we're seeing heavy institutional cash come in, and that's just how it is. So Bitcoin, for example, its correlation with the S&P 500, which I hate to no end because I'm a DeFi guy. Um, if we sync it, it's run between 0.5 and 0.7%, or 0.7, which means 50 to 70% of the S&P 500 moves are identical to Bitcoin's. Okay, so it's moved up. So it's running around 70%. So when the S&P 500 moves, Bitcoin's moving. See, the whole point of this talk is I just want to reiterate that DeFi and BTC and ETH and all the alts have been invaded by institutional bastards. And so what's needed now to survive and just thrive is actually a team, a crypto, a vision that recognizes the current landscape. You can't be ignorant of that. And that's why I love MANYU going after securing the copyright, securing the IP rights, doing the things that we want as holders for big money to come in. Because especially when we'll talk about the relationship with Chainlink. I don't know if you saw the talk Chainlink gave at the Fed. Now the Fed has basically greenlit some pretty powerful things. We'll talk about that in just a sec. Again, I'm going to try and keep this as short as I can because it's sometimes it's a little dry just doing stats. But you will realize, damn, I bought the right token with MANYU. So let's move on to just another something you can check, and this is something I do now. It's not bulletproof, but it's good to keep an eye on retail. And one of the things retail uses, as much as we hate it, is Google. Um, for example, in 2017, when Bitcoin was hitting just under 20,000, right? Google Trends had it. Google Trends rates things from 0 to 100, right? So Bitcoin searches were at 100. It was just hype central. It was at 100, right? So people were just searching Bitcoin like crazy. Same with 2021, right? The next bull run peak, right? Bitcoin was at 69,000 there. Google Trends were still hitting 100 there. Now look at it now. Right here we are, we're October 2025. Where is it sitting on Google Trends? It's sitting about 60, right? So we are not in a 4-year cycle. Like that 126 push, guys, that was, I'm going to call it a presumptive investment. That was people thinking that was the bull cycle because they're following the typical 4-year, 16, 17, 18 months since the halving of Bitcoin, we enter the bull run. But no, what happened? The extending of this debt maturity has pushed the whole thing, and I got the data. It's pushed the whole thing back. So we're actually going to see the peak probably around Q2 2026. That's what it's looking like from what we're running, which is exactly why we're seeing Google Trends hitting around 60, right? 60 is good. You don't want to be at 10. 60 let us know retail's actually heating up. Things are getting interesting. But what we're going to see now, we're going to see the institutions, sadly, they're going to leave with ETFs. Now, if you don't know, I don't know if everyone knows what ETFs are, right? They're just exchange traded funds, basically, right? They're just a vehicle. So, say you're you're Jim Bob, and you know what Bitcoin is, but you don't want to buy it. Well, your manager, your fund manager, can buy an ETF. Like for example, say BlackRock, they buy 1,000 Bitcoin, and then they wrap them in spot ETFs, and so they sell shares to that you can buy like stocks. So then you're not necessarily you don't have to hold the Bitcoin in a wallet, you hold the share, and it follows the movement of the Bitcoin in terms of price, and you're just paying, usually it's like a 0.2 0.3% fee. So that's what we've seen. As soon as the ETFs became available, you have all these hedge funds and all these people sitting on this money, especially when we have the debt maturity stretched out, and they want to spend it. They want to move it, but we're not going to see that really happen till Q2 2026, as far as what we can see. Now, don't worry, this it doesn't really affect us in terms of the potential of MANYU or anything like that. But it does let you know if you're ever going to accumulate and you really want to get ready to change your life. Now is the time. This is 100% accumulation phase, and you're going to see. I think you're going to see the team gearing up pretty soon for a push, because we are seeing the Google trends start to shift. But let's move on. I want to just talk about just a couple 7 sort of key drivers I look at, and something anyone can look at. Just be aware of it. It's M2 money growth, right? So the liquidity, you can check that very easy. M2 money growth. You can check ETF inflows. I'll show you where to check this stuff after. The ISM, industrial, right, the factory activity. That's very good. I think we're sitting at 49.1 right now, which means we're about to rebound. Usually anything above 50 is good. But that's what we're sitting at. If you feel like, man, the market seems kind of stale right now, well, yeah, it is, because also, like I said, the cycle has switched from 4 years really to 5 years. And that's just how it is. And then, of course, you can follow wallet activity, Google searches, debt maturity, all that. But let's scoot along here. I don't want to keep you forever. Big things coming up, though, for us, for the MANYU in the Ethereum world. We've got our Fusaka, the mainnet there, December 3rd. So that's when everything gets faster, cheaper, safer for Ethereum. So you're going to see a good amount of people start moving things into ETH there, which is great. Obviously, great for us, right? More speed, less issues. Um, if you want to look at Hirsch cycles, no, that's totally boring, but they're just fractal time patterns. We're looking at a Q1, Q2 2026 peak for ETH there. So everything's really lining up for this extended. And I think it was maybe 3 months ago, I came on a chat briefly and talked about, I really saw that we're going to be in an extended bull run. Like, we're not even in that BTC hitting 126 was not the bull run. That was just like the appetizer. We're probably hit around 200. And yeah, I don't think I want to go over. If you didn't see yesterday, Chainlink at the Fed, um, he did talk about, I guess I should just mention that. The Governor Waller, right? He talked about payment accounts for direct crypto access to Fed rails. That's really cool. And here's the beauty of it, right? Who was front and center at, being the hand in the glove for the Fed? That was Chainlink, right? So their CCIP cross chain, they are viewed as safe and legitimate. And so if you want to get your crypto projects, you want to get MANYU into the world of big money, right? We want big investment coming in. We want a $50 billion market cap, 100 billion, whatever. The sky's the limit when you get real money coming in. You need these sort of connections. And I don't think it's coincidental from a team that has the experience that this team does, that they're connecting and doing everything you'd expect a future billion-dollar company to do. They just happen to be doing it. The thing is, they're doing it in the meme world, right? And so you get all the hype we're all used to, and most people are not actually used to real business practices happening in the meme world. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing people take the ETF, right, the institutional money coming in seriously, and they said, look, if we want a piece of those billions of dollars, right, like I said, it was like almost $500 million came in today, right? There's major money moving right now. And so if you want to be taken seriously, you want that for your project, you want to, support the love of DeFi and the crypto world, well, you're going to have to actually take a few steps to secure that position in this new landscape. And the MANYU team are absolutely doing it, and they're killing it. And if we could, you could just grab people by the ears and say, "You bastards, you lucked out, man. You landed on a gold mine and you don't even realize it." Uh, they're doing everything to move the holders into a pretty phenomenal position for, like, Q1, Q2 2026. You're going to see, we joke about everyone's going to quit their jobs. You're going to see a lot of MANYU holders quit their jobs. You're going to see a lot of MANYU holders do those things for their families that they've always been wanting to do, because the team has recognized the new financial landscape. You can't go on the 4-year cycle BTC halving. You can't ignore the fact that you've got BlackRock buying billions of dollars of BTC. And so, that's going to, like I said, you've got a centralized overlay, a TradFi overlay over decentralized finance. And that's how it is. They're locking into each other, right? Like we said, Bitcoin follows the S&P 500. It's 0.5 to 0.7 the last little bit, so that's 50% to 70%. You may not like it. I don't. I love the cowboy world, but that's just how it is. So if we go, I want to put my money into something, I want to invest in something, well, I need to now find something that's actually taking the financial landscape seriously and is doing the things that I would want them to do for me to be able to actually get the benefit of my investment. And that's the beauty of what the Manu teams actually doing. They're taking it seriously. I believe they learned amazing things, obviously having the SHIB team there and what they learned in 2021. So they can put all these things in place, like a couple things. Let's talk about that, right? A big issue when, SHIB just had a monster, ATF, and then all of a sudden, the issue is there's no early utilities, right? The IP is unprotected. There's all these systems that they didn't do, and so then you have all these copycats, right? um, and what we see with Manu, though, from day one, Manu took everything seriously early on. I'm sure you guys remember, right? Them securing IP issues, them going after copyright, them doing all the things right, registering the company as a business, doing all that stuff that she probably should have done early, but they're just riding the typical meme world. And again, the landscape is different, right? They've got U.S. copyright locked. They've got cross chain. We've got genuine devs who know how to wormhole so that you've got the same amount of supply on various chains, right, through BSC and Base. That's not casual deving, guys. That's legit. That's people that understand interoperability, right? Like that's the kind of people that can connect with Chainlink. Uh, and be taken seriously. So again, just you may not realize it, but just go, well, man, I'm blessed. because you are. If you bought Manu accidentally, well, you stumbled into a freaking gold mine of brilliance. And your children's children will thank you if you don't cheat. That's all I got to say to that. So yeah, it's just wild. Like things we've loved. We've got the Ethereum ICO wallet. I mentioned that early on, coming in right with 35 Gs. We've got just so many things going on that are legitimate. Even when they did the burn, right, and they showed us that they have a personal $35 million wallet, right? We talk about, we would love when the devs put the money where their mouth is. You have a team that puts their money, their personal money, where their mouth is, and that's something to support, right? That's something to champion. That's something that benefits all of us, to appreciate them. Even what Zero said today, right? Our team's gearing up for another ATH run powered by multiple catalysts. Same principles as before. We warned you prior to this and executed it perfectly. Now it's time for the second round. And again, we appreciate everyone's patience, as it's difficult when it comes to dealing with large companies and entities. Triple underline that, guys. Large companies and entities. If your little crypto project is not dealing with large companies and entities, yeah, you could make a couple grand, but you're not going to make you're not going to make life-changing money. You're just not. You think you can change your life for $100,000? I'm sorry, you're not. That won't change your life. Uh, you need to go higher. You need to think bigger, and so you need a project that has billions in mind. You can't have a $500 million project. You need a billions, plural, in mind, and so they need to be doing the things that can allow them to actually get to that in this landscape. Because if you just say, well, screw it, I don't care about that, there's institutional money coming in, it doesn't matter. I'm sorry, you're late. It does matter now. And so you better have a team that recognizes that. I love what he said here. Right? Our time is near again. I'm excited to witness the next wave of strong growth for us. Yeah, me too, bro. Thank you all for killing it side by side with our team. And that's what I love all you guys, right? Apex and Hunu and Human and Tommy, you're just killing it. Like I jump into, I'm in most of the spaces, even when I'm just working at the lab here. I'll just have it. I'll just be there because you just got to support. You got to support people that are putting their time into it. And if you put your time into it, you're actually putting your life into it. So I just honor you guys that you're putting the time, putting your life into it because it helps everyone. I just wish people would see that and appreciate that. But anyway, in the future, when our engine's done next year, I'll make sure I send you all one so you can power your house for free. You'll appreciate that. Um, so yeah, let's just talk then, and we'll just finish up here. Maybe some future plans for Manu on X. Now, obviously, X is a huge transport for ideas and messages. And at the end of the day, that's what crypto is, right? Crypto is it's a message. It's not just something in your wallet. Like you bought crypto, you could have bought a dollar, you could have bought a piece of gold, you could have bought a piece of silver. But there's something wild about this crypto thing. There's this idea that's attached to it. It's called freedom, it's called liberty. And that's what we're defending when we own it, right? We're defending that idea that a man has a right to his own finance without anybody looking into it. And that's why I support DeFi so importantly. That's why I love seeing even the steps Ethereum's taking to make their chain more private. That's so important. Now we'll see obviously how that shakes out with the Fed. To each his own. But until, let's just talk about some things we can do to keep the simmer going, and then as we get into the boil, let's talk about shilling. So when we're gonna shill on Manu, um, guys, shill with facts, okay? Shill like you're a blue chip because you are. You just got to accept the fact I'm not just some little meme anymore. I'm actually an owner of a blue chip company. And so I'm going to act accordingly, right? I'm going to act according to the vision. It's almost like, you dress for success. I know guys, they put a suit on even if they're working at McDonald's, right? Because it's not about where you are, it's about where you're going. And so you got to understand that, right? So if we go, look, we want to be the number one token on Ethereum. We want to be the one where we're actually included when people are looking for major investments because, oh, wow, it's a real company and they know the dog, right? They know the cute little Manu and they see our merch everywhere and they go, well, can I invest in that? Like you can invest in Disney or you can invest in Pixar, whatever you want to invest in, right? You can invest in Manu. And so they're going to see it. So how should we respond, right? How should we treat it? We should treat it like we're already at 50 billion, 100 billion, right? That's how we need to be acting. So when we're shilling, right, let's shill with facts. We've got the facts, guys. We've got the connections people don't have. We've got the support people don't have. So shill with facts, right? That's what we need. Shill with facts. And then when we're talking about creating content, like I love, we create pictures of Manu getting on rockets, and that's very cool. But let's start moving the content around our utilities. Like, let's go through, okay, like for the Zebek debit cards. Hey, freaking awesome, right? Now you guys, we've all talked about that. so I don't need to cover it. But say, let's do it. So this week we're going to all make content about MANYU having debit cards, and that's what's going to go out this week. And that may be something we can talk about. Where each at the beginning of each week, we have a space, right? You do one of your smoking spaces, and we have a vote. Okay, what aspect of MANYU are we shilling this week? Okay, I mean, whatever, it's 5 things. We're going to shill the debit card. Are we going to shill the chain link connection? Are we going to shill MANYU fund? Whatever it is, right? And we go, this is what we're going to push this week. And then, as we know, we already know we're the best army, right? We already know it. And we go, this is what we're going to shill this week. And so for that week, everyone in the world sees that MANYU's connected with this. And then the next week, everyone in the world sees MANYU's connected with that. And then the next week, and so we just really focus our shilling. And I think that would really help push us. Again, just some ideas. We can talk about that later. And then yeah, so let's keep on that. So guys, if you want to look on Google Trends, you can just look on Google Trends, very simple, and you can see kind of where the points are. And then right now I think we're sitting at around 30, which is fine. That's a good simmer. I think when we first launched, we were sitting around 10. So we're 3x in terms of people searching. So we're getting around 60 to 100,000 searches every day for MANYU, right? So there's a lot of actually searches for MANYU. Now, obviously, it's including a couple other things with MANYU, like the actual dog is going to be in there, but we're sort of in that MANYU pie. And you can really see it when we hit our 70 million ATH. If you look at Google Trends, the searches were at 100, right? They were through the roof, and so we kind of get a sense of that. So anytime, just keep a monitor on that. Anytime we're looking, and so then maybe as a group, we can have almost like let's try and move the Google Trends up 10% each week or 10% each month, right? Just in and of ourselves. It's just something we do, whatever, we can talk about it or not. But yeah, I think I've said. I think the main thing is just the focused shilling. Like, let's pick projects, let's pick aspects of what we've got, and really just slam it. And then each week it's a unique thing. Obviously, keep making your cute memes. We are at the end of the day a meme. We're not denying that, but we just happen to be a smoking blue chip meme. So just things I've liked that MANYU's done right. That's been needed for the institutional money to get involved. The regulatory clarity, right? We needed to be registered as a business. We needed to obtain copyright. And just as just an interesting stat, and why is that important? Did you know, riddle me this, 43% of private equity firms are looking into crypto. 43%, guys. That is billions and billions and billions, right? And if some of them say, hey, that's a cute little dog, is that a real company? See, if it's not a real company, no one's going to invest 50 billion in it, right? But if it is a real company, they just might say, "Hey, yeah, that is real." And they've got merch and they've got this and they're connected with Chainlink and Chainlink's connected with the Fed, and so they're legit on every tier we need them to be legit on. So yeah, grandma, you can throw the 50 billion in there. Again, that's what they've needed to do for this new landscape, and that's what they've done. So I think we'll stop there. I'm sure some of you will listen to this again. It's a lot to talk about, and then we can just all jump over into a human space and chat about it, because I just really want the stats recorded for everyone. But yeah, there it is. So what we're seeing overall, right? We're seeing a 5-year cycle stretch out because of the debt maturity extensions, and that just happened. So expect from MANYU, like I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see a December pump. We usually do, right? But as far as like the billions, I think we're looking at it kind of end of Q1, Q2 for sure of 2026, where we're in, life-changing levels. And what I would expect is the team to do exactly what they're doing. They're just gearing up for that. They're making sure all those partnerships are intact, are established. There's a lot of I's to dot, a lot of T's to cross when you're a legitimate company, right? When you're just a little flash in the pan meme, or you don't really care, you don't need to do any of that. But they're really putting in the effort, they're taking the time. So just anyways, guys, want to thank you thanks for coming out. I haven't done a spaces before, so appreciate seeing all OGs in here. Love you completely. You always have 100% of my support. And if anyone has any questions, if you're like, hey man, how can I check for sine wave cycles on all these things? Let me know. Just DM me on, and I'll let you know. I'll give you any information I have. You're welcome to. Like I said, if there's any question you have, just shoot me a DM. I will answer it because I want us to win as a team, as a family, because y'all deserve it, right? We've been in the trenches long enough. So, yeah, just awesome. Just awesome. All right, guys. So, peace out. There it is from the Watcher.